Edgar Girtain and the Arapahoe Philharmonic have had this really incredible relationship. Edgar has been with the orchestra almost as long as I have been with the orchestra. He was our first composer in residence. Both of us have seen the orchestra grow through this incredible 2 years of artistic expansion and giving each other challenges, new and old. And Edgar's music has actually been one of the key driving forces in moving this orchestra to the next level. And I think in this symphony, Symphony No. 2, the American Pastoral that you're going to hear, he's really figured out the limits of the orchestra and what he can push and who he can challenge and what kind of expectations the audience have. So it's a really incredible culmination of a relationship that we're excited to bring to fruition.
Symphony No. 2 is a pastoral work in 2 connected movements. The first movement explores questions about the relationship between man and nature, while the second deals with more existential questions about human relationships, fading youth, mortality, and the afterlife. It's all based on a pre-existing ballad titled The River of Life by a 19th century Irish poet named Thomas Campbell. While at times the music draws inspiration from the canon, and indeed summons the spirit of Brahms, Wagner, and Verdi, the language the music speaks is audibly one of a 21st century American. I think while listening to the symphony, one hears elements of Hollywood film scores, Copland's American Style, Stephen Foster, the Top 40, and even church hymns. And that's because these are all musics that I hear in my experience as a music teacher every day. My goal was to create a new path of experience for the listener, to draw them in and guide them on a journey that invites them to ask fundamental questions about the human experience. And this was the approach that I took because I think this idea is one of the highest callings of art, that it can communicate. And by connecting the audience, the performers, the past, the present, and the future all together in one piece of music, the composer creates the idea for the listener that there is someone who understands them, and that there is someone who cares about them. And at its core, that's what this symphony is about.
Bruckner was sort of being pulled between these 2 factions of Wagner and Brahms, and also was writing at a time when there was this dichotomy between programmatic music and absolute music. In the case of the Fourth Symphony, in my opinion, this is one of Bruckner's greatest works and therefore one of the greatest symphonies. Bruckner was convinced that he needed to write a program to the symphony, even though in Bruckner's line of thinking there's pure musical, spiritual, meditative thought, and that's what I think people will grab, will take from this Symphony No. 4. This meditation, essentially, that just starts, and you see all the darknesses and the lightness of the character. You see the soul kind of struggling to find its place. It's a big meditation. It continues to be this spiritual unification that we can find in this life. Bruckner actually put the romantic title to go with it, not for the idea of romantic love, but more with the medieval notion of romance. So the hunting horns and the chivalry that really comes with this idea of a return to nature, which poets, artists, and musicians experienced in the 1800s.